The Longview Kraft Modernization project is coming together through a variety of talented craftsmen. Join us as we take a look at these craftsmen and the work they are doing. Joe Reed, Project Superintendent for J.H. Kelly, will show us some of the work currently going on, starting in the chip handling area.
Today we're looking at the 320 belt conveyor here that pulls the chips from the stacker reclaimer. This is a shot where the 320 belt conveyor dumps into 510 conveyor that feeds the existing mill. The crew of millwrights here are installing a belt loader to handle the added load of chips on the existing conveyor. Hey, Louie.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Millwright work. I'm putting a belt loader up here, getting ready to weld it up, so I got to grind the paint off.
What we've got here is a 444 tower that we're modifying to accept the walkways and conveyors that feed the stacker reclaimer. We got a crew of iron workers installing the miscellaneous handrail and grading, structural steel for the project. What we're looking at here is the new Phelps chuck dump that feeds 420 conveyor that takes the chips on over to the stacker reclaimer, from there to the new chip facility. Hey Bill, what are we doing here?
We're welding up this wheel guard here. We truck drivers wanted it a little different. We just got done with this conveyor system here. Brought it over from phase 1. It came in 3 pieces. We welded it up. Kind of a neat little job.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
This is a new pulp facility. The Kamer digester is on the right and the blow tanks are in the middle. This is where the majority of the modernization work is going on.
Hey Greg, what are you doing here?
Good. Getting ready to roll this valve off to a 45-degree angle. I'm a pipe fitter from Local 82, and we're working on putting all the piping systems in this area. What we do is we take different piping pieces, tie in tanks, pumps, and valves to make a complete system. Right now I'm working with my welder up there. We'll be working this entire run here to tie in the oxygen tank up there.
How long have you been on the project, Greg?
Been out here 14 months. Should be in this area for another couple of weeks.
Smile, coffee breakers, you're on candid camera. This pipe fitter is working on the new wash and screen room located near the digesters.
What are you up to there, Steve?
My name is Steve Button. I'm a millwright, and I'm working on what we call the wet lap machine. It's a machine that makes pulp that's sellable. It goes wet from one end, and it's pressed through a series of rolls and through a knife blade, which cuts it into sheets, and comes out to a sellable pulp at the end.
How long has it taken you to build this machine, Steve?
We've been working on this for several weeks now, about 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks?
We're just getting ready to ground it now, and it's just about finished.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm David Porter. We're in the Comstock Fab Shop, where all the supports and brackets are made to install the conduit and tray system in the modernization project. Here's Glenn Muir. He's working on a little project now.
Yeah, these brackets here are
basically just for motor stands and this kind of thing, David. And we just make all the brackets that hold the conduit, and it's all the prefab is done right here.
Well, let's see if you can drill a hole in that and see
Well,
what
I
it's all
think this
about.
thing will run.
Well, what do you think of that?
It's through.
Okay, this is our central receiving. All the material and equipment for the job comes in through here. Gordy, come down here and explain what goes on in here.
Thanks, Dave. Well, this is LK Comstock's receiving warehouse. We receive most of the material here in the smaller quantities. The large stuff is out in the field. And I mostly place the orders here and from the foreman's request, and then distribute it to the men out in the field, and it gets installed.
Well, Gordy, how big a project is this?
It's certainly the largest that Comstock has undertaken in this area. We've probably gone through at least $1 million of material here.
Here we are in MCCJ. This is Bud Lang and Mike Bridges. What are you boys doing today?
Well, we're in the process of making up the primary to these two panels right here.
That's going to furnish all your house power for this room and beyond?
For this room and the motors outside and yeah.
And what percentage of completion do you figure this room is?
Probably 40%.
So there's another good 60%, another 3 or 4 months to go in here, just in this small area.
Oh, you bet. A lot of wire to pull.
Tony, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm going to bend a 25-inch 90 stub up to come off of a tray cable and feed a motor. And we'll pick up a 12-3 tray cable for that.
Well, can you bend one for us?
Yeah. And I'll stick it in the bender in the correct 1-inch shoe. And line that mark right up there in the correct spot. And go ahead and bend my 90, which is 90-degree angle right there. I end up lining this right up with the 90. Carefully, and then I got to kind of judge it by looking at a little under bent. Now we'll cut and thread her to fit on the long end. Putting a little thread cutting oil on there to lubricate it. And now I'm going to put the thread cutting dies down on it and run the pipe through the thread cutting dies for about 1 inch of thread. And when I'm finished, I'm going to take this out and the pipe's cut threaded and I wipe off the oil and that's it.
To inform workers of safety issues, each crew has a weekly toolbox meeting. In the ancillary area west of the new pulp mill, Comstock has been installing and hooking up electrical systems.
Hi, we're here in MCC 3A. MCC is a motor control center where all the motors for all the pumps through this section of the mill are controlled from. This is an I/O rack, which is input-output. These wires go out to some solenoid valves and some positioning switches, and there aren't enough inputs or outputs for the I/O rack, so I have to put some rail up. First thing I have to do is determine where the holes are going to be. I'm trying to match up with the rail that's already in here so that it'll look like one continuous block. Looks like about right there, and about right there. If I can drill these holes in the right place, that rail will mount right up.
These high-density tanks were constructed by Ballard International.
I'm Paul Hoffman with Ballard International. We are up here on number 16 High D. We're in on the last leg of finishing the outside walls of the tank. The bricklayers are laying the inside ceramic structural tile in chemister mortar, and at the same time scaffold, which will also be the form for the roof, is being worked on. This is Jerry. He is laying the outside block wall. There is not very much left to go. There's about 5 courses left to go. That will be the top of the tank. As the camera swings around, you'll see number 15, high D, which is, the boys are in the process of forming the roof. It will be a concrete roof, of course, and the boys up there are in the process of forming it. And a little further on, you'll see number 14, which the forming is done, and the steel workers are tying their rebar. As the final, we'll show you the finished product. This is what these 3 tanks are going to look like very shortly. These are the 2 IDs that were built last year.
Have you got concrete yet, Chuck? It's on its way. Here it comes. The mud I mix is to lay the blocks with, and the concrete that we pour in between the walls comes in ready mix trucks, and we dump it into the hopper of the pump and then pump it up. When we lay them blocks, because they're on an angle leaning out like that, you have to put plywood up like this, and then you just pour the concrete inside, and then afterwards you strip the plywood off and you have to fill in the joints.
These structures were skillfully constructed by CamTech, another contractor working on this project. We're in the digester building, and Eric, how you doing today?
All right, how you?
Good. And Eric, what's your craft here?
Instrumentation.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about what these things are here.
These are IDPs. What I'm doing right here is hooking up this airline that runs through this regulator into the IDP, which goes to the control valve, sends a pneumatic signal, which can be controlled in the control room. Then you got your level transmitters up here that tie into the seal pots upstairs, and you got a high and low side, which gives you an accurate reading on each side of your valve.
Wayne, how you doing?
Okay.
What is it that you're working on here?
This is a dummy leg here for pipe support off this 90.
So a lot of your work is not just pipe as a pipe fitter, but it's also supported.
Yeah, on this job there is a separate crew that's doing only pipe supports and a separate crew that does all the pipe itself.
Now you're working together with Rex here, and what's he do?
He's my welder.
And so you guys sort of work as a team, welder and a pipe fitter, is that?
Right, yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about this support here, what you're working on.
Well, what we're doing here is we're putting in a pipe stand that's going to support this 90. Wayne's got this ground out a little bit. I'm going to go in here, and we're trying to heat this up in the back because we're out of plumb just a little bit, and we're going to draw it back in here on this back side. We like to do a good job when we're doing it, and we want it to come out looking professional, so it relates back to Weyerhaeuser that we're doing a good job here for them.
Well, it sounds like quite a job. We're going to stand back and watch you guys a little bit.
Okay.
Well, stainless steel has a tendency to draw a lot when you put heat on it, and we end up putting a little too much heat on the front side of this, so we're out of plumb. We're going to heat up the back by welding on it and put a wet rag on it to cool it real fast and pull it back into position.
There's really an art to all this.
Right.
It's like a lot to know. Well, thanks, fella.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is one of Sunnen's big cranes used to lift equipment and materials on this project. Hi, Fred. How you doing today?
Fine. Real
Boy,
good.
this is a monster crane.
It's one of the biggest in the Northwest for a hydraulic crane.
And were you involved in that, in the K-Mir?
Yes, we were involved in some of the K-Mir lifts also.
And with this?
With this
unit?
machine, yes.
How long you been working on this project?
Now this project I've been on and off for this year. starting about January or February.
What's this lift that we're going to be doing here?
Now this lift is part of it's a diffuser, and we're lifting it up to an elevation of about 185 feet, and it weighs about 32,000 pounds. The machine actually weighs the load. We have a scale built into the crane, and we also have a boom angle. We also have the radius and the tip height, all by just turning a switch, and we can find out where we're at by just turning a switch.
Now, Fred, they didn't used to do that, did they?
No, in the past, in the older days, the cranes weren't so sophisticated as they are today. More or less, you kind of ran a crane by the seat of your pants, and you kind of felt it start to tip a little bit. Well, you knew you better stop, or you're going to just keep going. So today, the cranes are more sophisticated, and you don't get that anymore. You no more tipping. The crane will just shut itself off.
And about how many things do you do at once?
Probably about 5 functions at once. You can do that many.
How long have you been a crane operator, Fred?
Approximately 27 years now.
About how long did it take you to just to get used to a crane?
Sometimes you think 27 years, but it takes a little time. I mean, you just don't do it overnight.
Now, when I was watching it move over, it seemed like I could hardly tell it was moving. How do you do that?
It's just the hydraulics of the crane itself, actually, and you just go very easy and very smooth.
Research Cottrell, with TIC as its subcontractor, has been building and restoring the precipitators on the number 10 recovery boiler. Well, Scooter, thanks for coming up here with me.
No problem.
What's your job? What trade?
I'm general foreman with TIC on this Research Cottrell project.
And you're working down here below us?
Yeah.
It's like about 100 feet below us.
Yeah, it's about 90 feet below us. We're up about 190 foot right now. My crew's down there. We're in the middle of a shutdown right now, and we're fixing to put this piece of duct back in. This is new duct going in that's going to tie back into the number 10 boiler.
Now what we see there is that's a big duct work, is that one?
That's right. The gas flow comes out of the boiler and goes down through the precipitator, which cleans any debris and gases out before it goes, the air vents into the atmosphere. The new dampers, such as that one there that goes up to the 3rd chamber, are what they call man-safe dampers, meaning Weyerhaeuser can close that damper and isolate any of the 3 chambers at any time to where maintenance can go in and make any adjustments or repairs or whatever is necessary so that they will continue to meet EPA standards.
That looks like a lot easier way than bringing it up the stairs, huh?
It's a lot of stairs. Yeah, that's the whole thrust of our operation is that 4100 crane there. It's
the
Manitowoc. That's what's made this job happen. As you can see, these existing trusses we've had to work around. One precipitator's on one side of the truss, one's on the other. A lot of our picks are going to be directly under.
What trades are these fellows down here that we're looking at?
Riggers, ironworkers, welders. I've got a little bit of everything. In fact, they all need to be able to do a little of all.
Well, my name's Alan Bliss, and I've been out here for a year working on these precips that we're building. We've been working on this project here. This is the demo of the boiler on the ductwork. We've been doing this since Monday. I'm an iron worker by trade, and we hope to have this done with no accidents. Everybody go home safe every night and come back to work the next day safe.
Without the hard work of skilled people like these you've just seen, America would not be the great country it is today. Thank you, friends and families, for your support of these men and women. They are proud of the work they've accomplished, and you can be too. The facility built here will not only provide jobs and products for you and your neighbors, but also for your children for years to come.